was one league and pretty casual. And then I jump into a 14-man uber competitive. Every time I'm checking the recent activities, I'm like, damn, more moves have been made. But I still feel okay. I mean, it's crazy how at 6-6, you could still almost say I'm right there. Like most leagues, the dude that's 6-6 is like barely trying to they're like pretty much, probably not even in it, but so many people are right there that even at 6-6, it's an okay record. But I think just off the points for, I'm still not in the playoff hunt. But I mean, obviously after I beat you this week and then I beat Paul again in week 14, then
All
at
again,
at eight and
emphasis
six,
on the again.
at 8-6, this league is so neck and neck that most leagues already got like a 9 or 10 win uh person in it, at least one, and this league still is no one's even higher than 8 wins right now. So I think, but
Yeah, no.
it's super close. Even the last place person is like, even me at 6-6, you think like, oh, most leagues you're pretty safe from being last, but if I were to lose these next 2 weeks, it might be me.
There is still a chance. There's only 2, 4, and 8 teams. Shout out Andrew and Marcus. There's only 2, 4, and 8 teams left. Jaime is 5-7, and then there's six. Count them, six, 6-6 teams. Crazy. It's an even league, balanced league, just like you said. Ultra fucking competitive. There's a lot of bad blood, dude. It's amazing. It's amazing. But I
This is
think you're in.
my obviously my first year in the league as the commish himself, who's been in this league since the start. Has there ever been a year like this many people through, like, going into week 13, this many people with like same records?
Yes, it like last year came down. It's the past 2 years have come down to the last week on deciding like four of the six playoff teams. There's like usually two top teams. Like Colston last year just ran through everyone. He had like I think 11 or 12 wins that year last year. But outside of that, like I was, I think I was, what was I think I was 6-7 or something like that going into the last week and could get the 3 seed, something like that. And I think it's because it's a 14 team league with the three wide receivers, right? Because there's so much variance going on that if one person gets injured, and you can attest to this, if one guy gets injured on your team that's like a solid contributor, you're fucked for the next 3 weeks, like until they get back. And then all of a sudden, now your team specifically is healthy as fuck. I was seeing O's all over your roster a few weeks ago, and now you got almost everyone back except for Michael Thomas. Defend your picks segment. How do you feel about it? What maybe I can say this now, what went wrong? Because he started off hot, but what went wrong for him?
Oh man, what didn't? I guess if I were to try and actually go along with the prompt, defend my pick, um, going into the draft, I'm gonna be completely honest. This is no joke. Kind of what it came down to. It was like the eighth or ninth, 10th round, one of those three, and the turn hit, and there were two guys I was looking at. One was Juju, and one was Michael Thomas. I mean, shit. It's crazy how it feels like ages ago, I guess, that Michael Thomas was literally the best receiver in the league, but it
Right.
really wasn't that long ago. Um,
2 years removed. That's it.
and I mean, look at someone like CMC. I people were skeptical because 2 years in a row of this dude being out almost the whole year. And it's like, shit, he just missed like majority of the past 2 years. How can you trust his health? But then he goes in there and he hasn't, he's had a couple questionables, but what running back doesn't? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Basically, as far as running backs go, he's been perfectly healthy for the whole year after basically
Right.
missing 2 whole years. So that was kind of the similar approach I had with Michael Thomas. I was like, this dude is almost like the CMC of the running backs a couple years ago, was literally the best guy in the league, then has a couple years of injuries. But, as much as I was one of those guys that look at previous injuries as a concern, at that point in the draft, I was like, let's take a chance. Like, yeah, this might be a mistake, but if it's not, and he even gets back to like 80-90% of his prime season, that would be almost considered league winning, I feel like, at that point in the draft. And kind of the final tipping point too was I let a previous draft from this year kind of sway my mindset. I had already taken Juju
Yes.
in a previous league, and I let that kind of fuck up my mindset. I did the same thing with who was it? I want to say I can't remember who it was, but anyways, back to Thomas or Juju. I'd already taken him, and it came right there, and it was those two guys, and I was like, do I go two Jujus, or I already have Juju in a league? Like, let me take this chance on Michael Thomas, and this is what I knew was coming, so that's why I didn't get into it earlier. After that first week, Michael Thomas puts up a great game. AJ Dillon put up like literally those two guys put up their best games of the season in week 1. So after week 1, I'm like, let's fucking go. My team's looking great. And then I want to say back to Michael Thomas, he had good, like the first 2 weeks he did good. And then week 3 barely played. And then week 4 was out. And obviously then after that, there's not much defending my pick. It was definitely a fucking bust of a pick. I wish I would have obviously taken Juju at this point, because the season point totals have been astronomical versus this dude Thomas, who hasn't played since like week 3 or 4. So it's really unfortunate situation for Michael Thomas. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
He hates the Saints organization.
We've kind of talked about it, at work, like how just the organization, like if he doesn't want to be there, and it's just not a good situation, good fit with him in the organization. Maybe next year he gets traded and has a resurgence, but I don't know his exact age, but I don't want to even say he's that old at all, and was literally looking like he was just coming into his prime, about to be like possibly one of the best receivers ever. And then has let just injuries and weird situations completely derail his career. Super unfortunate.
He's 29 years old.
29. So obviously
29, 30. Yeah. Yeah, and
wouldn't
I
consider
think
that young at this point, but definitely not like, oh, the dude needs to retire.
Not falling off a cliff. And I think your process was there, because at that point, I think it was the 6th or 7th round. We're just looking for a fucking league winner, right? We're just looking for someone where they've had their issues. That's why they've fallen back in the draft. But like you win for a league winner. He had 3 or 4 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks. You just can't fault you can't fault your process for picking him there, because Juju just had a shitty year with the Steelers. He was being used as just an underneath target. So I mean, thinking back on it, I barely had Juju ahead of Michael Thomas. What led me away from Thomas was his relationship with the organization, where last year he could have come back, but waited to get his ankle surgery till right before the season started instead of in the off season. So it just seems to me like this man is not someone that wants to play for the New Orleans Saints. So I think outside of that, your process was good. You're going for a league winner. And then let's talk about the strength of your fucking team right now. You haven't really had, like, Jonathan Taylor has been blowing up as of late, but what's been getting you through is T. Higgins, number 12 receiver on the year, AJ Brown, number 9 receiver on the year, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know he had a spike week this past week. He's the 10th wide receiver in points total on the year. So you have a 3 stack that I think can match almost anyone else in the league. I think Nick has a good one with Stephon, CD, and Christian Kirk. But bro, you have guys that could put up 40 points in 3 of your wide receiver slots. So I'd say that's a strength of your team. What's a weakness, you think?
I mean, I think you made the answer easy by saying my receivers were my strength. Definitely my running backs have hurt me. I mean, damn, just like how you just never know what's gonna fucking happen in the league. This dude, we were just talking about how hey, watch this, watch it.
Chug, chug, chug.
Dunzo
Yeah,
good, Dunzo too.
bro, you're done with that? Oh my gosh. I gotta get
I might
another
have
one.
started before, but and
Okay.
I'll even
Wait, you're saying weaknesses, right?
yeah, I was just taking a quick break there. Um, my running backs are definitely my weakness. And quarterback too. I mean, definitely made a mistake by not taking a quarterback sooner than I did. I also I mean, I took some risks. The reason I have such a stacked three stack of receivers is because I ended up not taking a quarterback till late. I ended up not taking a tight end till literally, I want to say like 4 or 5 guys already had their second tight end. And I was like, shit, let me get my starter here.
Gerald Everett for the win.
Yes, sir. That's what basically led to the name. I'm like, I'm picking my starting tight end so late. Like I said, no joke. I mean, I think you could look back at the draft. Maybe I'm wrong. I want to say it was at least like 3, 4 guys had already taken their second tight end by the time I took Gerald Everett. So I was like full ride on Gerald Everett, and you could almost paint him in the same window as AJ Dillon and Michael Thomas too. Those first couple of weeks popping off. I mean, back to week one, like just my whole team came together, and then since then, a lot of the players haven't stepped up. But to go back to your
Right.
question, I would say obviously since the receivers are strengths, just about everything else has hurt me. The running backs haven't been too hot. Thankfully, Taylor's coming back now. I always like my brain goes faster than my words come out of my mouth. I was trying to get around to back to Jonathan Taylor. How I saw he hadn't even missed a practice since high school. Forget a fucking game. I don't know how they had the statistics on that, but apparently this dude never missed a single practice in his
Legend.
career and college. Like,
Hmm.
and then so you think no way this dude's getting hurt, and then he has missed a couple games, has been not 100% for most of the year. So just tough circumstances like that, I guess. But then back to just quickly touching on the quarterback too. Thankfully, Tom Brady's had a couple good weeks, and I even put Mariota in there a couple weeks, and he's stepped up enough. But definitely like going into next year, I'm targeting a quarterback earlier for sure. Targeting a tight end earlier. And after last week, or the past couple weeks of kind of just streaming in a defense, I took someone when the Rams were on bye, and I
Right.
I picked Carolina last week, who did great. I've kind of learned that I mean, this league is tough because there's barely any defenses available, but it's almost worth kind of just going for that streaming, trying to just pick the best matchup each week in terms of who
Right.
the defense is playing.
Right.
Because even the best defenses out there face an elite offense and are gonna struggle. But
Right.
anyways, I guess I don't know if I fully answered it, but basically everything other than my receivers, like I would say it's not even like the rest of my team was my weakness so much as just my receivers have stepped up so much that it's saved my season if you'd call it that up to this point at
Yeah.
least. Obviously
Absolutely.
the Deontay Foreman pick in the draft, I drafted him knowing, that he was handcuffed to CMC, and that
Right.
in my head, I'm like, CMC's still on the Panthers at this point in the year, but he's hurt. So Deonta Foreman's starting anyways. And it's kind of worked out in a different way where CMC didn't get hurt, but he got traded. So Deonta Foreman ended up being the handcuff I thought he would be anyway. So that one's been a good pick in terms of my running backs. But
Mhm.
my first two running backs were Jonathan Taylor and AJ Dillon, which after week one,